Good morning, friends. I welcome you all to today's session on India's 110, and I welcome the speaker Praveen ji. I would like to hand over to the moderator Hari Bhai. Hari, kindly take it.
Yeah, thank you, Vijay bhai. We, on behalf of Tax Practitioner Association Thane, GST Bar Association Varanasi, Josh Professional Foundation Thane, Association of Tax Professional Vellore, Tax Friend Association Mumbai, Income Tax Bar Association Pragraj, Bhiwandi Tax Practitioner Association, and Legal Relief Society Kolkata. We welcome you all on this learning day on festive. We have today with us learned speaker Praveen ji, who will be speaking on India's 10, that's even after the reporting period. I will introduce Praveenji. He is a chartered accountant with 20-year experience of post-qualification audit experience. He has worked with one of the big four audit firm and two of the big Indian CA firm. He has a technical expertise in carrying out audits in accordance with the international standards and auditing standards followed in India. He has expert knowledge in generally accepted accounting principle followed in India, example, Indian GAAP and Ind AS, and international financial reporting standards. He has an expert knowledge of GAAP conversion from IGAAP to Ind AS and IFRS. He has conducted Ind AS training for companies, expert knowledge in the field of internal and management audit, and evaluating the drafting standard operating procedures. He has experience in stat audit of various listed and unlisted companies, which include BSE 500 companies and large corporate groups. He has experience in audit of manufacturing companies, non-banking finance companies, hotel industries, infrastructure companies, especially toll road, asset management company, insurance companies, and other various sectors. He has assisted various companies in IPO, right issue, and QIPs. So with this, we welcome Praveen ji. And over to you, Praveen ji, and all the time is yours.
Thanks, Harry, for a kind introduction. Good morning, friends. Wish you a happy Ganesh Chaturthi and Michhami Dukram.
Good morning, sir. Please continue.
So our today's topic is India's 10 events after the reporting periods. Hello.
Yes, sir. Bully.
Yeah, 1 minute. There's some problem in system.
No issue, sir.
Yeah. Friends, we are going to discuss today India's 10 events after the reporting periods. Yeah, it started. The content of the today's discussion is we'll navigate the entire standard. Then after that, the important terms are adjusting events and not adjusting events. Adjusting events and not adjusting events. Example, we will take dividends, going concern, a disclosure summary. One more aspect, this is something new, distribution of non-cash assets to owners, new development which has been taken place, and significant difference between the accounting standards and international financial reporting standards. So friends, I again welcome to all. The standard cover three things. One is objective. Objective of the standard is we know that financial statement has been prepared on some reporting date. The reporting date may be anyone as per the company's or a judicial requirement. For example, in India, the reporting date is 31st March. And after reporting that, financial statement takes some time for approval by a approving authority. Approving authority may be a board of directors in a listed company, and in some cases, the approving authority as authorized by the companies. So there is a time gap between the preparation of financial reporting date and the approval authority. So these standards say that suppose some event takes place between these two dates, then how this event is required to be accounted, disclosed? Is there any adjustment required in the financial statement or not? So that is what is objective of standards, that to prescribe when an entity should adjust the financial statement for events after the reporting period and the date of authorization of financial statement and event after that date. The standard also cover how to disclose going concern and what are the steps required to be taken, how the accounting required to be done, not accounting, what disclosure is required by the company in the financial statement. Standard also covers how to recognize dividend and some of the disclosure requirement of non-adjusting events. This, again, the standard cover that it applies to all transaction accounting and disclosure of events after the reporting periods. So it may not be as limited to specific events or a transaction. It is applied to all transactions between that two dates, reporting dates and authorization. There are certain key definitions. One of the key definition is what is the event after reporting period. And then the standard specified two more important definition, adjusting events and not adjusting event. We'll go one by one. One of the definition, event after reporting period means what? Event which are favorable, non-favorable occurring between these two dates, what we have discussed, the reporting date and the approval of financial dates. That is what the event which is required to be considered by the company while preparing the financial statement. So these are called events which has been occurred after the balance sheet date. It may be a favorable or it may be an unfavorable event. Now the standard gives another two important definition, adjusting event. What is adjusting event? That we will see. Adjusting events are events after the reporting period that provide evidence of condition that exists at the end of the reporting period. Means, as it is, the companies are aware that there are certain things which are there as on reporting days and certain event which may be happen after reporting periods. If suppose that events happen, some adjustment is required in the financial statement. That means the awareness about the condition is already known to the companies. So in that scenario, if suppose some events took place, then the adjustment required in the financial statement. That's why the definition is name of the name itself suggests that adjusting event adjustment required in the financial statement. Another definition is non-adjusting event. As such, the name suggests that non-adjusting event doesn't require any adjustment. It's only require disclosures. What is non-adjusting events? Events after the reporting period that are indicative of condition. The word indicative of condition that arose after the end of the reporting periods means the condition which has been arose after the reporting period and there was nothing indicative as on the reporting period. Disclose but not adjust the amount recognized in the financial statement. However, there is one exception. There is one carve out in these standards compared to Indian international financial reporting standards, where standards specifically in Indian scenario say, like if suppose a company has taken a long-term loan and they have breached one of the condition of the long-term loans, so that is required to repayable on demand, and as on reporting period, this has been considered as a repayable on demand. From the classification, it has been changed from non-current to current. However, before approval of the financial statement, if the lending authority allowed that breach of condition after the reporting periods, then this adjustment is not required to be considered. So this is one of the exception in the standard. We can say this is a carve out from the Indian international accounting standards. So that is required to be kept in mind. So all the IFRS standards has been copy paste for the India standard, but there are certain carve out for in these standards. This is one of the carve outs where one particular event has been considered as a non-adjusting event, which is as per the standard, consider as considering the Indian scenario. We'll take some example. Adjusting events, for example, settlement of a court case. We have some of the example later on the side. We'll go one by one. So these are just only indicative examples. One of them is settlement of a court case after a reporting period, bankruptcy of customer, sale of inventories, determination of cost or sale price of property, plant and equipment, profit sharing or bonus payments, discovery of fraud or error making the financial statement incorrect. So these are the adjusting event for which if suppose happen after 30 reporting periods, then the adjustment required in the financial statement. Friends, if you can see these all examples like a settlement of a court case, bankruptcy, sale of inventories, determination of cost, profit sharing, discovery of fraud, we can say that it indicate that there are certain things which are indicative as on the date of reporting periods. So if suppose something happens, the event took place before approval of financial statement, then the adjustment is required. Non-adjusting event examples are announcement of a plan to discontinue an operation, destruction of major production plant by a fire, abnormal change in foreign exchange rates, announcing a major restructuring, and abnormally large change in asset price or foreign exchange rates. These are some of the example of non-adjusting event. If you see that name indicates that these are only indicative natures that maybe arose only after reporting periods. So we need to see that one by one. This is there are some disclosure requirement, and this has to be disclosed. And no adjustment is required in the financial statement. I have considered one of the example for settlement of a lawsuit after the reporting period. During the year 2001, entity B commenced a lawsuit against entity A for a breach of a manufacturing patent. On 31st March 2001, entity A did not recognize a provision based on lawyer advice that it is not liable. Entity B did not recognize an asset since it is uncertain about the outcome of the legal proceedings. So this is what entity A and B has done on 31st March 2001. On 23rd June 2001, the court ruled the entity A should compensate entity B for INR 15 lakhs. The date of authorization of financial statement of both the entities is 31st July 2001. How should entity A and entity B account for lawsuit in a financial statement for the year 31st March 2001? So we can see what is the solution for this settlement of lawsuits. So as on 31st March, both of them, entity has not accounted for any liability and entity B has not accounted for any assets. So as the entity, we can see here the lawsuits. So from the definition of adjusting and non-adjusting event, we can make out that entity A has file a suit on entity B before 31st March. Only the outcome was not there on 31st March, that is on the reporting period. However, is before the approval of financials, this lawsuit has been ruled, and it was in the favor of entity B. So entity A has to pay to entity B. Now we can say easily that this was a event which was aware by both the entity A and B. Only the judgment was pending, and judgment has come before approval of financing. That means this is a adjusting event and require adjustment in the financials. Now we can see what the solution is. Entity A should consider whether the court ruling is deemed to be the event that creates an obligation or a confirmatory evidence that obligation existed at the reporting date as a result of past event. India's 10 states. Example of adjusting event, we have seen that any lawsuits which ruling has come before approval financial statement is an adjusting event, and accordingly this is the adjusting event. The settlement after the reporting period of a court case that confirmed that the entity had a present obligation at the end of the reporting period. Entity should recognize a liability of rupees 15 lakh in the financial statement for the year ended 2001. And accordingly, this is adjusting event. Now for entity B. Entity B should consider whether the ruling is deemed to be the event that creates a right. That right has existed at the reporting date as a result of past event. On 31st March 2001, entity B estimated the contingent asset as 0 because the ruling was not passed. The estimate is allowed to incorporate information obtained after 31st March, but before the financial statements are authorized for issue. Means he can now recognize a receivable from entity A, should recognize an asset of rupees 15 lakh in the financial statement for the year ended 2001. And for entity B also, it is an adjusting event. So friend, we can see that in both scenario for entity A and entity B, any settlement of law case after reporting period is should be an adjusting event, require an adjustment in the financial statement. We go for the second example, bankruptcy of customer. An allowance for bad debts of 50% of amount due from a customer was made at the end of the reporting period in view of expected credit impairment. Subsequent liquidation order on the customer indicate that nothing could be received from the customer. This confirmed that the customer was credit impaired at the end of the reporting period. So this is clearly come out from the reading of this example itself. This is an adjusting event because we were aware there is some credit impairment and 50% provision was already made on 31st March. After the reporting period, the entity goes into a liquidation, and we were aware that nothing is going to be recovered from the debtors because of liquidation, and debtors going into liquidation, and order has confirmed that. And accordingly, this customer is going to be at bad debts, and they're not going to be recover any amounts. So yes, definitely an allowance of 50% is not enough. The entity is required to either provide for 100% or make a provision or a bad debts clearly in his financial statement. It's a choice again. If the company go for the fight again, saying that after the even after the liquidation, there will be some chance that entity will recover some amount. So provision is required rather than entire amount bad debts. That's again depend on the entities and the customers, how much amount is going to be received from the liquidation. So this is an adjusting event, provide 100% or a bad debts. That's a choice. According to me, rather than providing for 100%, it should provide for bad debts. If suppose subsequently they received something in a liquidation, that will be the income for the company. Friends, now Insure had set up one ITFG group where they give some clarifications. There was after India's implementation and later on, there was some anomaly in a business combination, particularly where court has ordered the business combination after reporting period. You know that business combination takes more than a year sometime, and always the effective date for a business combination is always retrospective. So in that scenario, as per India's 10, there was earlier that saying that any business combination happening after reporting periods, that was considered to be a non-adjusting event and only disclosure was required. But after clarification by institute, now this has not been considered as a non-adjusting event. This is required to be adjusted. How? What is the ITGF 14 clarification? We can see that business combination after the year end, but before approval accounts to be considered an adjusting event. This was an example. Entity A and B are fellow subsidiaries, entity under a common control, and file a scheme of arrangement in April 2017 for a merger of entity B into entity A. Both the entities are covered under phase 1 of India's. Entity B filed auditor certificate with NCLT pursuant to section 230, subsection 7 of the Companies Act 2013, which state that accounting treatment proposed in the scheme of compromise or arrangement is in a conformity with the India's. Entity B gets approval from NCLT in April 2018. That means after reporting period, which is after the year end 31st March 2018, but before the approval of the financial statement for the year ended 31st March 2018. As per the scheme, the appointed date is 1st April 2017. Whether business combination of entity B shall be incorporated in entity A's standalone financial statement for the year 31st March 2018. Earlier, it was a mispractice. Some of the accounting firm was giving a disclosure, some of the accounting firm was adjusting the financial statement. After this clarification, the member need to consider this, and all the business combination which has been happening after the reporting period, but before the approval of financial statement, they need to be considered as an adjusting event and accordingly required to be restate their financial statement. It may be noted that although paragraph 22A of India's 10 state that major business combination after the reporting period is not adjusting event, however, where the court order approve a scheme with a retrospective effect subsequent to the balance sheet date, but before the approval of financial statement, the effective date for accounting is a prior to the balance sheet date, wherein the court's approval is an event that provide additional evidence to assist the estimation of amount of assets and liability that existed at the balance sheet date. As such, the adjusting event has occurred, which require adjustment to the asset and liability of the transferor company, which are being transferred. In the given case, since the company has applied for the scheme of amalgamation and only the order of the court is pending, then that indicates that condition existed at the end of the reporting period, and hence this shall be treated as an adjusting event. So this is a clear-cut indication that no, the process was going on, only the approval was pending. The approval may take time, but it is just a procedural part that is required to be followed. That is why this has been considered as an adjusting event, and the financial statement is required to be adjusted for the business combination, and it is required to be retrospectively restated. In our case, from 1st April 2017. Accordingly, the effect of business combination of entity B in entity B shall be incorporated in the standalone financial statement for the entity A for the year ending 31st March 2018. Another concept introduced in this India's 10, dividend. Friends, you all aware that no dividend earlier is always approved by board of directors after the no reporting periods and before the financial statement get approved. So earlier in our accounting standard also, we were considering as an obligation, and we were providing as a proposed dividend in the financial statement. However, as per the international standards, there was no obligation as on 31st March, and accordingly there is no provision required. However, disclosure is required for proposed dividend in the financial statement. Since after implementation of Ind AS, this proposed dividend is not required to be provided for and is required to be disclosed. Now that change has also been done in accounting standard later on. So dividend declared after the reporting period date are not adjusting event but are disclosed in the notes. Dividend declared during the declared during the year, I have considered one example, say 2 interim dividend, first 75, second is 55, totally 130 rupees dividend are recognized, and that dividend is required to be deducted from the equity. Disclose the amount of dividend and dividend per share, and that is to be reduced from the equity of the company. So equity brought forward, less dividend, and total has been reduced to the extent of 130 and balance is carried forward. So dividend declared during the year and paid is required to be deducted. The dividend which has been proposed is only required disclosure. Friends, there are another instrument in the financial statement other than equity also, like redeemable preference shareholders. So dividend paid to preference shareholder is required to be, if dividend declared to such type of preference shareholder after a reporting period, but before financial statement is required to be again treated in the same line of equity, or there will be a separate treatment. So here the interesting point is that dividend declared to equity means the owner of the company after the reporting period, but before financial getting approved is required to be disclosed. But in case of a other instrument like a preference shareholders, where dividend has been approved later on, required to be provided by this has been explained in this slide, because preference shareholders there is a separate treatment in the Ind AS 109. Based on the classification, the preference shareholder, whatever the dividend is required to be paid, is required to be accounted. If the suppose redeemable preferences as per Ind AS is considered as a liability because it has to be redeemed in particular time. So time period is fixed, amount is fixed, and that is why Ind AS is considered them as a financial liability instead of equity. And accordingly, any dividend declared to preference shareholder is required to be treated in the line of other like a bond where interest is required to be provided. So accordingly, here the dividend is not to be considered, but interest is required to be considered because it is considered as a liability. So any dividend is approved later on is required to be provided as an interest in the financial statement. That is required to be keep in mind. It's one of the important considered. I thought this is one of the important example and have been considered here. What will be the treatment of dividend declared to redeemable preference shareholder after reporting period, but before the financial statement are approved for issue for the year 1819? Whether Ind AS 10 prescribe any accounting treatment for such dividend? Paragraph 12 of Ind AS 10 prescribe accounting treatment for dividend declared to holder of equity instrument. Remember the holder of equity instruments. However, Ind AS 10 does not prescribe accounting treatment for dividend declared to a redeemable preference shareholder. So this is important change. Remember the choice, holder of equity and redeemable preference shareholder. As per Ind AS 32, a preference says that provide for a mandatory redemption by issuer for a fixed or a determinable amount of a fixed determinable future date, or give the holder the right to require the issuer to redeem the instrument at or after a particular date for a fixed or a determinable amount, is a financial liability. Thus, dividend payment to such preferences are recognized as an expense in the same way as interest on bond. So we can move ahead after this example. Another important concern in this standard is going concern how to disclose any events which has been took place after reporting period before 31st March, particularly where their events is so pervasive that that means there is a considerable doubt on the entity that entity is going to be continue or not, or that is trading, suppose their trading business is trading is stopped, or such event has been took place where we can definitely sure, or it is so pervasive in nature that entity is going to be closed down. So Ind AS 10 say in that scenario what is required to be done. No, the normal standards say that only assets and liability required to be adjusted, but Ind AS 10 has a different stand on this. He says that the financial statement fundamental is prepared based on the going concern assumption, and if that assumption has been affected, then the entire financial statement is required to be changed based on that entity has to prepare this financial or going concern basis. So this financial statement is not required to be prepared on going concern basis, instead of some other basis required to be accounted, and that is required to be disclosed. if suppose that going concern is not so drastically affected, then only the information that there are certain conditions which are uncertain in natures, but there is a doubt that going concern assumption is going to be affected, that disclosure is required to be given in the financial statement. So an entity shall not prepare its financial statement on going concern basis if management determines after the reporting period either that intend to liquidate the entity or cease for the trading, or that it has to realistic alternative but to do so. So this is what a definition has been given for the going concern basis. If the management determined that after the reporting period that intend to liquidate the entity or cease for the trading, or there is no realistic alternative for the entity, the entity shall make a disclosure as per specified in India's 1. The financial statement are not prepared on going concern basis. Friends, this is one of the important things, that financial statement are not prepared on going concern basis, or the management is aware of material uncertainty related to events or a condition that may cast significant doubt upon the entity ability to continue as a going concern. These events or a condition require disclosure may arise after the reporting period. Friends, you all are aware that we are at present living in a pandemic situation. So these standards is particularly important. Insured also has given in this COVID scenario, they have come out with a very good guidance that how to do audits, and all CA fraternity required to follow that guidance, that in a COVID scenario, what is the audit procedure is required to be done. But India's stand is very clear that if suppose some events which has happened like COVID type of, and there is some indicator and management determined that that is ceased to be trading, or it has no alternative, realistic alternative, then they need to prepare the financial statement other than ongoing concern basis. We have seen particularly lots of company has given a disclosure about COVID in their financial statement, are now going to be see for the private limited company how they are going to prepare their financial statement based on the need to assess that they are going to survive or not. So particularly this standard is very important in the current scenario for any practice professional to follow and to consider that how the management has estimated determines they are going that going concern is affected or not, and what disclosure they have given, and auditors are to be very careful and they need to follow the audit guidelines given by Insured in the month of March. I consider one small example here where I have covered that along with the fire going concern assumption. In the plant of PQR Limited, there was a fire on 10th May 2017 in which the entire plant was damaged and lost, and there was a loss of rupees 40 lakhs is estimated. The claim with the insurance company has been filed and recovery of 27 lakhs is expected. The financial statement for the year ending 31st March they approved by the Board of Directors on 12 June 2017. So how should it be disclosed? Friend, here I've started with that plant of PQR, there was fire. That means entire plant, there was a fire and there was no alternative fire. So accordingly, we need to think from that perspective, are this entity PQR Limited is going to be survive after this fire or not? Because this event has took place after reporting periods, and there is some indication that they are not going to recover entire amount of their damage, and there is only a certainty of part amount going to be recovered from the insurance company. So how this is event required to be there? Is this a adjusting event? Is a going concern assumption is affected this for this entity? And what is the disclosure requirement? In the instant case, since a fire took place after the end of the reporting period, it is a non-existing event. However, disclosure regarding non-existing event should be made in the financial statement. Is that the nature of event and the expected financial effect of the same? With regard to going concern basis, followed for preparation of financial statement, the company needs to determine whether it is appropriate to prepare the financial statement on going concern basis, since there is only one plant which has been damaged due to fire. Even if the effect of deterioration in the operating result and financial position is so pervasive that management determined after the reporting period either that it intend to liquidate the entity or that it has no realistic alternative. So in that scenario, preparation of financial statement for financial 16 ongoing concern assumption may not be appropriate. In that case, the financial statement may have to be prepared on basis other than going concern basis. So this has to be considered on case by case basis, and I need to see that what judgment is applied by management and how we have as an auditor determine that. However, if the going concern assumption is considered to be appropriate even after the fire, no adjustment is required in the financial statement for the year ended 31st March 2017, since the fire is a non-existing event as per the standard. Friends, there are certain disclosure required. As we know, the standard itself measures is of disclosure standard, and we know that if suppose non-adjusting event took place, we need to give nature of events and their financial state effect on the statement. Or if suppose management is not in a position, then that not estimation is not possible, that disclosure is required in the financial statement. Along with that, one more disclosure is required, that standards say that when this financial statement is approved and who has approved and who has the authority to approve this financial statement. So this is one of the important disclosure which is required in the financial statement. I have seen so many balance sheet where people while preparing India's financial statement, they don't disclose who has approved the financial statement and when this financial statement has been approved. So this is one of the important disclosure requirement of this index, which is required to be taken care by any professional and even by the management. The entire responsibilities of management, but auditor also has to be take care that management had disclosed or not. If they have not disclosed, we should, based on this standard, we should insist that no, this disclosure is required. So date of authorization for issue of financial statement and who have given the authorization. Disclosure as regard the power of the owner or other to amend the financial statement after issue. Update disclosure relating to condition that existed at the end of the reporting period if any information is received after the reporting period. Disclosure regarding material non-adjusting event, nature of event, estimate of its financial effect, or the statement that such estimate cannot be made. So this is what important disclosure. We have seen that lots of company has given this disclosure in a subsequent event. Basically, the heading is subsequent event in any financial statement. And in a COVID scenario, we have seen that this subsequent event, most of the listed company has given transaction by transaction, the COVID impact they have considered as a subsequent event, or the impact of COVID on that particular transaction. Most of them have consider that uncertainty, and so most of them say that effect can be comes to know after within a period, reasonable period, or some of the entity where the contracts are on and they are going to show that there is going to be some material change in that contract term. So they have disclosed their itself, they have adjusted their financials, and then they're given impact. So you can see any financial statement, we can see that COVID impact has been given. Either they had been considered as adjusting event or a non-adjusting event, and they have considered a non-adjusting event, they have classified the event, and they have estimated the financial effect. And if suppose that is not possible, they have categorically disclosed that it's not possible to estimate currently. So this disclosure can understand, comes to know how important this disclosure for any financial stakeholders, any financial readers, even though people understand that these are only a disclosure standard, but according to me, categorically, this is one of the important standard because the effect is that we audit till 31st March, but between the 31st reporting period or 31st March or before financial statement, this there are certain events which is very important, and based on this standard we need to classify adjusting, non-adjusting, and accordingly determine adjustment that definitely require adjustment in financial, non-adjustment require disclosure. So there is definitely a disclosures for those even if they are material and important for any reader to understand the impact in for the futures. So friend, this is not only a disclosure standard but one of the important and very useful standard, and a very small standard but having a very material effect on the disclosure part of any financials of entity. Friend, one more appendix to standard has been given, that we have seen dividend paid uh, to the owners in cash and what is their effect. We have considered that any dividend which has been proposed and after 31st March require no obligation and no provisions, only disclosure required. Standard also given one appendix where they say that how to account for any dividend which has been paid in non-cash, and that is to the owners. Then only this standard is applied. And what is the accounting treatment for this? In short, the accounting treatment is that it is required to be considered as a dividend paid, and fair value of the non-cash asset is considered as the amount which is required to be recognized. And importantly, what is dividend amount and the fair value, if suppose any different, that difference is required to be considered into a P&L. So dividend amount is required to be adjusted against the equity, and the difference between the fair value and dividend amount is required to be adjusted in the P&L. That is important change. And so particularly this is for non-cash, that is also required to be remembered. So there is a specific guidance given under Appendix A. The appendix applies to the following types of non-reciprocal distribution of asset by entity to its owner acting in their capacity as owners. Distribution of non-cash, for example, items of PPE, business as defined in 103 business combination, ownership interest in another entity or a disposal group as defined in Ind AS 5, asset held for sales, and distribution that gives owner a choice of receiving either non-cash asset or a cash alternative. That means non-cash or cash alternative. This appendix apply only to a distribution in which all owners of the same class of equity instrument are treated equally. So this is one of the important things, that same class of equity instrument are required to be treated equally. Then only this appendix and guidance is applied. This appendix does not apply to distribution of non-cash asset that is ultimately controlled by the same party. If suppose the owners are not changed after and before the distribution, then this standard is not applied. An entity shall measure a liability to distribute non-cash asset as dividend to its owners at the fair value of asset to be distributed. We'll see the example. Assume company A is owned by a public shareholders. No single shareholders control a company, and no group of shareholders is bound by a contractual agreement to act together to control company. Company A distributed some security on pro rata basis to their shareholders. Is this transaction within the appendix guidance? Yes. We can consider that no shareholder is controlling a company and no group of shareholders is bound to act together. So this is no equally distributed against the shareholders. That means there is a transaction within the appendix guidance. How it is required to be accounted? Suppose we consider a scenario that if one of the shareholders control company A both before and after the transaction, the entire transaction is not within the scope of appendix. That is what categorically come out, that some boards before and after the distribution, the control not change, this appendix is not applied. And accordingly, if there is one particular shareholder who control it entirely, this appendix is not because it doesn't change the distribution before and after. Assume it is partly public shareholders, no single shareholder control company A, and no group of shareholders is bound by contractual agreement to act together. Company A owns all the share of subsidiary B. Company A distributed all share of shares of subsidiary B on pro rata to his shareholder. Thereby, they have lose the control of subsidiary B. This transaction is within the scope of appendix. Means the lost company has distributed the ownership to their shareholders and they have lost their controls. Again, this since it is before and after distribution, the control is changed. This appendix is applied. However, if it is partly, they have only the company has only share non-controlling interest, distributed non-controlling interest to their shareholders, and retain the controls of the entity. This appendix is not applied because company A account for a distribution in accordance with consolidated and separate financial statement. Company A still control company B both before and after the standard. So three example I have categorically taken. If suppose entity shareholder control the entity, shareholders company doesn't control before and after the distribution, and partly distribution of ownership, but the control the entity. So for, this is one of the important thing in non-cash, the how the company dividend is required to be accounted, the guidance is required to be followed. I hope you have understood. I try to simplify it, but I know it is a complicated, but need to be seen transaction by transaction and need to apply the guidance properly. Latest development for this standard, there is recently companies India's amendment rule 2020 has been notified, and there is some change in India's 10. The change in the definition itself, what is that change? In paragraph 21, if non-adjusting even after the reporting periods are material, non-disclosure could reasonably be expected to influence decision that is the primary user of general purpose financial statement make on the basis of financial statement. So what they have changed in this para, particularly earlier, they have used the word general users, and there was no specific financial statement. They've said a general user for a financial statement. Now the categorically, the change has made that primary users, the stakeholders, and what the financial statement, the general purpose financial statement. So that is what one of the important change, though now anomaly has been changed. That means this is for the primary users and this is for the general purpose financial statements. And accordingly, entities shall disclose the following for each material category of the non-adjusting event after the reporting period: the nature of event and the estimated financial effect. So decision of the primary user is required to be considered, and it should be a general purpose financial statement. This is what a change which has been incorporated and notified recently by MCA. So this was a new development which has been, I have tried to incorporate it here. This is again in line what earlier suggested by change in international accounting standards. So the same has been inserted into India's accounting standards. Now, friend, to the last category of this standard for significant difference from accounting standard and IFRS. So there are certain accounting gap differences. Adjusting events we have discussed in so detail that we know that there was no specific guidance in accounting standard 4 contingency events occurring after the balance sheet date, and there is a guidance in International Accounting Standard 10 and India's 10. India's 10 and International Accounting Standard as said. So particularly guidance has been given, and definitely that guidance is required to be used. Earlier in the accounting standards, that guidance is not required to be not given specifically, but that is required to be considered case by case and how material it is important, and based on that, that a professional judgment was required to be used in the accounting standard. Another change is that disclosure of material non-adjusting event. In accounting standard 4, that was not considered, but however, it was disclosed in the board of director report, and no specific disclosure was considered in the financial statement. However, in international accounting standard in IFRS and NDS 10, that is required to be specifically given as a subsequent event. And that material information, we have seen that nature is also required to be given, and their financial impact on future period. And if suppose that future impact is not possible, that disclosure is also required to be given. I think another important difference is going concern. We have earlier discussed that in accounting standard that require change in the asset and liability value in accounting standard. However, in international, as per India's 10 and ISA 10, that require the fundamental change in the basis of accounting itself. That means the financial statement is not prepared on going concern basis. Another important difference is distribution of non-cash that we have discussed earlier, that there is no guidance has been given, and there is a specific guidance has been given in India's 10 and ISA 10. So these are the important differences which are required to be considered while preparing any financial statement. There is only one carve out between ISA 10 and India's 10 that we have discussed in our earlier first slide itself, that a breach in a long-term loan condition, and accordingly that loan is required to be repayable on demand. But before the approval of financial statement, lender allowed that breach, then that is not considered in India's 10 as a non-adjusting event. However, ISA 10 does not give that carve out, and they just say this is adjusting event and it is required to be considered as non-adjusting event required to be considered as a current only. In this scenario, it is considered as a non-current. Thank you, friend.
Hari bhai.
Yes.
Friend, we can take some of the question if you have.
Hari, kindly take over.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Praveen bhai, for such a wonderful session. I will take the questions, if any. There is one question. The amount of disclosure of estimated financial impact of material non-adjusting event should be disclosed to fair value or not?
No, this is for specifically what, for non-cash item or for an event which is happening after 31st March and non-adjusting event, correct?
No, the question is only this much only.
Can you repeat that question again?
Amount of disclosure of estimated financial impact of material non-adjusting event should be discounted to fair value. If they are saying discounted, then it must be a cash.
That depends on the how the entity disclose that amount. It is not necessary that it will be a fair value or discounted value. It may be estimated amount also.
Okay.
So if it is a entity is sure about that amount, that it can be a discounted or fair value also. That depend. There is no specific answer for that, yes or no. The only important here is that what is the financial impact, and that financial impact they are definitely sure this is what the financial impact for the future periods, and it is going to be a fact for more than 1 year. Definitely, if it is not for, it is only for the one specific part of the period, for that particular specific period, then it will require discounting. Sir, Next question.
Yeah, in the case of private limited company, change in major shareholders and directors is it to be reported?
This is happening after 31st March. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Post
Yes,
event.
yes. Huh.
Post event and definitely any change in key managerial person required to be disclosed.
Okay. And another question is, if there is a loss due to fire during the year, the company provides in financial statements. Now, should the company recognize insurance claim income if fully recovered in insurance? Fully covered in insurance, sorry.
Yeah. So how can they provide before before they are receiving any amount? If they are not sure, the fire has happened during the year, and I taken one example. If suppose that even for the year and fire happened, and the entity sure that they are going to recover some amount, but that amount has not come before the 31st March, I think so that its income is not required to be recognized unless the entity sure about the certainty of the insurance claim. If the fire happened during the year and the amount is received before financial statement approved, then definitely yes. This is for the fire which has happened before 31st March. Before that means during the year. If suppose this will be the case after 31st March, that means this was not existing even. Since this was happening during the year, the only uncertainty about the recovery part. So according to me, that if suppose the amount is uncertain and not received before 31st March, it is not required to be accounted for income. Only disclosure is required to be given.
I think there are no more questions.
No more.
So Haribhai, can you proceed with the vote of thanks?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Thank you, Vijay Bhai. Thank you, Vijay Bhai. From all the host association, that is TPA Thane, GST Bar Association Varanasi, Josh Professional Foundation, Association of Tax Professional Vellore, Tax Friend Association Mumbai, Income Tax Bar Association Pragraj, Bhiwandi Tax Practitioner Association, and Legal Relief Society, Kolkata. We, on behalf of all these associations, propose a hearty vote of thanks to Praveen ji, who has taken time on this festive day and educated us on the Ind AS 10, which is very important as far as, especially in the COVID scenario. So,
correct.
on this, we again thankful to you, Praveen ji, for this wonderful session. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Hari. Anytime.
Thank you,
Over
friends.
to
Yeah. Thank you, Hari, for conducting the session properly. Thank you, Praveen ji, for accepting our request and taking out time to complete the session, which was left incomplete last time. And
Yeah.
friends, tomorrow we will meet regularly at 11 o'clock for the regular session. So all are requested to kindly join tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Thank you. Enjoy your Ganesh festival. Happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all. Thank you, friends. Goodbye.
Yeah, happy Ganesh Chaturthi.